Today in this video we will talk about modernism. Modernism is a movement that emerged in the late 19th century and it aimed to challenge traditional forms of art, literature and social structure, seeking to capture the complexities of the modern world through innovation and experimentation in all arts and literature. Because during the late 19th century and early 20th century, there were a lot of changes that occurred, due to which it became necessary to put aside old norms and make something new. As Ezra Pound said, make it new. Virginia Woolf also noted this change in her essay, Mr. Bennet and Mrs. Brown, that on or about December 1910, human character changed. Basically, when we talk about the literary ages, it is not like watertight compartments. They are loosely structured. Modernism characterized the first 3 decades of the 20th century, marked by the experimentation with narrative techniques. Like a lot of new narrative techniques were evolved, like stream of consciousness, the fragmented style of the Westland. From the end of the World War II to the 1990s, it was postmodernism, questioning the universal truths. The last 3 decades we call postmodernism or metamodernism, combining past and present ideas to navigate our complex world. So let's explore the societal context first that set the stage for modernism to emerge. So there were increasing role of and dependence on mechanical devices. Rapid urbanization of North America and Europe continents in 20th century as rural population fled to cities for jobs. So after the Civil War, America saw a second industrial revolution. This shift caused people to move from rural areas to cities because machines reduced the need for farm workers but increased the need for factory workers. It is also called the era of science. So there were scientific discoveries of like DNA, X-ray, steam engine, medical science, radio waves, theory of relativity. All this happened during that era. The 2 world wars which shook the world, people saw the destruction the war created. The catastrophe of the war has shaken the faith in moral basis, coherence and durability of Western civilization. Emergence of war neurosis, popularly known as shell shock. Shell shock was a term coined during the First World War that is now called post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. It is basically a psychological condition in which soldiers suffer due to the stress which they experienced during the battle. In Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway, Septimus suffers from this kind of shell shock. So in short, the mental condition of the soldiers was also affected after the war. Man's evolving relationship with God transmitted from faith to agnosticism. The modern man is now questioning the divine presence. Now modern men believe in human progress and don't wait for divine help. The Wall Street crash of 1929, also known as the Great Crash in America. The economic depression of the 1930s proved to be a huge blow to the already suffering poor. So this depression caused because there was a Wall Street crash. It is a stock market crash, which is called the Wall Street crash of 1929. Many people lost their money in it, which caused widespread depression. So basically in 1920s, it was called the Roaring Twenties. Following the end of the World War I, there was a sense of optimism about the economic growth of American society. In 1920s, many people were buying stocks, which are shares of ownerships in company, hoping their value would go up and then they will sell the stock. This led to stock market boom, where stock prices rose rapidly. However, some investors were buying stocks using borrowed money, known as buying on margin. Then in October 1929, the stock prices started to fall. People panicked and began selling their stocks, causing price to drop even more. This led to massive sell-off with millions of shares being sold in a short time. And on the day when it happened, it was called the Black Tuesday. Women's right, advocacy for suffrage and equal rights gained momentum. As men were fighting at the war front and women were alone handling home and children, they also filled jobs vacated by men fighting at the war front. So the public attitude toward women's role in American democracy began to shift dramatically. Women's role in economic and society began more visible. So the movements like equality, right to vote gained momentum during this time. Values, feelings, and emotions changed for the modern man because the world around the modern man was changing rapidly. Writers during that time had mostly critical attitudes towards morals and religion, church and state. They see future with no hope, only uncertainty. Avant-garde movement was also introduced during this time. It is a term applied to art that is innovatory, introducing or exploring new forms of subject matter. For example, Impressionism, Futurism, Dadaism, Surrealism, Cubism, Fluxus, etc. Now, hitherto we have understood the social background of the modernism. Now we will talk about modern literature. War raised doubts about the adequacy of traditional literary modes to represent the harsh and dissonant realities of the post-war world. In traditional literary forms and modes, the writers used to present fictional world where conflict used to resolve at the end. There is a clear distinction between good and evil. They focus more on the heroism, romanticism, morality. But after experiencing the trauma of the war, all these ideals changed and shattered. So there is a need for the emergence of new literary styles to present this shattered world. In the year 1922 appeared monument of modernist innovation such as James Joyce, Ulysses, T.S. Eliot's The West Land, The Virginia Woolf's Jacob's Rule. In three of these are new techniques were used, like stream of consciousness, fragmented style of writing, to depict the shattered world. Like James Joyce and Ezra Pound, Eliot also experimented with new styles and new form that would render contemporary disorder in his The Wasteland. Fragmented utterances substituted for the traditional type of coherent poetic structure, breaking up the narrative continuity, departing from the standard ways of representing characters. Stream of consciousness writing and automatic writing emerged. There has been a proliferation of poetry volumes representing various literary movements and style like Symbolism, Imagism, Impressionism. The Symbolist movement emerged in the late 19th century as a reaction against the limitations of realism and naturalism. Symbolist poets such as Charles Baudelaire, Stephen Mallarmé, and Arthur Rimbaud aim to convey deeper meanings and emotions through symbols rather than direct representations of reality. Arthur Symons played a significant role in introducing symbolist ideas to English literature with his work The Symbolist Movement in Literature. Imagism is a modernist movement in poetry, aroused in early 20th century, emphasizing clear, vivid language and precise imagery. Rejecting traditional rhyme and rhythm, Imagist poems focused on the brevity and clarity of expression. Prominent Imagist poets include Hilda de Lutter, known for her mastery of precise motion and imagery. The another leading figure in Imagist movement was Ezra Pound. His In a Station of a Metro is a prime example of Imagist principle. Impressionism. It is an art movement from late 19th century. It sought to capture the fleeting effects of light and color in the immediate moment. Key figures like Claude Monet, Edgar Degas employed techniques such as loose brushstrokes, prioritizing the play of light to convey the essence of a scene rather than focusing on detailed realism. This kind of paintings deliberately avoid intricate details
and focus on generalized representation, opting for a focus on overall atmosphere and mood. So basically, if they wanted to paint the sunset scene, they will not focus on the detailed realism, and they will not focus on the detailed scenes and detailed scenery. They will just focus on the immediate effect of the light on the water, immediate effect of the sunlight on the sky, and they will portray the scene. This kind of paintings are more about the overall mood than specific things. In literature, this style occurs when characters, scene, or actions are portrayed from a subjective point of view of reality. So this is it for this video. If you like this video, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe.